There are going to be people that tell you you cannot do anything.
The naysayers.
The naysayers. Don't let anybody else determine the things you can and cannot do.
Just heads down and go for it.
Heads down and go for it.
Already in front lane for South Africa, Roland Schoeman.
Schoeman, they can't catch the Schoeman, and the South African wins it.
Roland Schoeman in 22.96, a world record. He wins the gold medal.
Do you know many people that beat Michael Phelps? No, this guy.
We used to study what you were doing.
You're like literally the fastest man in the water.
Former Olympic swimming champion Roland Schoeman has been banned for 1 year after testing positive for a black market substance.
I got the email. I was like, no, there's no way. This can't be. There's absolutely no way. I judged others, and to now be judged the same way I judged other people, my identity was shattered. I was Roland the swimmer, Roland the Olympian. What am I now?
Schoeman committed an anti-doping rule violation.
We heard about it in the press. There was doping allegations against you. I want to help you set the record straight on that.
How much time do we have?
So Roland, great to have you in the studio. Thank you for joining me.
Vinny, thanks for having me.
It's awesome. You got quite an amazing bio, so I'm going to take a few seconds just to read it. At least some of it.
Why not all of it?
Well,
Come on, Vinny.
I know. I'm trying to keep the time down here.
It's not that long.
No, it's long. But you're notably famous as a South African for getting the gold medal in 2004 Olympics, which is amazing. And you made history because you became the first man to break the elusive 21-second barrier in the 50-meter freestyle, and the first to eclipse the 23-second mark in the 50-meter butterfly. I mean, that's just insane. You were like literally the fastest man in the water, at that point. And if I remember correctly, your team beat the American team, including Phelps.
Yeah, there's not too many people that can say they beat Phelps, and I think that's kind of a good badge of honor to have, being able to go and speak about it. Do you know many people that beat Michael Phelps? No. This guy. So it's always fun to be able to say, and I say that obviously with utmost respect for Michael Phelps. He's always been his best, and I think it took four of us on that day to be our absolute best to beat him in an American team that was stellar.
That was great. I mean, obviously, South Africans were very proud of our sports teams. Go Bokke, for winning the Rugby World Cup this year and twice in a row. And so we were quite a sporting nation. We're obsessed with sports. And, you're obsessed with swimming. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years now, about 5 years or 6 years. And I've obviously, when you won the gold, we were cheering for you and Rake and the rest of the team. And you are really one of the heroes of South African sports.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think everyone looks up to you. So today I just want to, dig into the depths of Roland and go through the history and the trials and tribulations.
We're going to dive into Roland's life.
Exactly. And point out the fact that you are now training for the Olympics next year.
Yep.
And you'll be the oldest man to ever participate in the Olympics at 44 years old.
It sounds daunting, but also exciting at the same time.
And you're very close to qualifying, what I hear. And so, you're in peak physical condition just about, and probably the fittest 43-year-old I know today, which is amazing.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take that.
And so, competing, and you just came off the world champs now as well, where you competed there. So, I mean, what a career, and you're taking it to the next level by just being, a shining example for all 40-year-old men.
I appreciate you for noticing that. And I think it's something that's always stood out to me. It's, I look at being a kid back in South Africa, and I think it's probably the same with kids all over the world. When I was 6, I looked at a 14-year-old and thought, how old is that kid? And then when I was 18, I looked at a 25-year-old. I'm like, well, how old are they? And I think we have this perspective and this construct of time that we look at, and age, and I think it is exactly that. And I don't want the language of speech or my construct of age to get in the way of something that I'm still capable of doing, or physically able of doing for a long time, or for who knows how long.
I mean, you're still faster than 99.9% of all the swimmers in the world at any age group. So that's pretty impressive. Okay, so that's, we can dive into that later on. Excuse the pun.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But let's start with, who are you? Where were you born in South Africa? And I have a bunch of South African viewers as well, so got a little bit of detail on that. But,
love it.
But where are you born, and tell me the story of how you got into swimming.
Yeah, so born in Pretoria in South Africa in the 1980s. And I've always been sporty. So it's something that I always gravitated towards. It was athletics, soccer, rugby, tennis, cricket, everything. I felt like my initial success really came in soccer and cricket. I represented like Northern Transvaal at that time in soccer and cricket, and I wanted to be a Protea, I guess that's the name at this point in time. And that was, to me, like the epitome of a sporting career. And it was something that I was working towards, and my evolution into swimming, really, I started when I was 6 and hated it. It was the worst thing in the world. I had asthma. And by virtue of the fact that my dad was a doctor, spoke to a pulmonologist and said, well, how do we kind of work through this and start swimming, because it's going to build lung strength and lung capacity, and did, and I hated it. Water was cold. It was the worst thing in the whole wide world as a scrawny little 6-year-old kid, and did for what I remember to be 3 odd weeks. Maybe it was 3 months, but quit after that because I wanted to be involved in team sports.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was in my second year of high school in South Africa where a really cute girl came on as she was a first year in the high school at Willow Ridge, and like fell in love. I was like, oh my gosh, this is love at first sight kind of thing. And being super awkward and not really personable at that point in time, super shy. I didn't know what to do to go and introduce myself and be like, hey, I'm Roland, would you like to go on a date? It was a question of like, concoct this elaborate plan in my brain of how to win a girl over. Because I think I'm at heart a super romantic kind of person. And it was a question of like, well, what do we have in common? Nothing right now. Okay, well, what does she like? Swimming. Okay, let me start swimming. So I started swimming, and we started dating. It's
amazing.
I know. It was
very sweet.
It was really, really sweet. But we dated for a few months. Her family got transferred down to Port Elizabeth, and we tried the long distance thing for a couple of weeks, and that didn't work. And with that, shattered that the relationship didn't work, but encouraged by the fact that there was something about swimming that kept on taking me back to. So it was something that I like fully committed to at that point in time, and it was just buoyed by the fact that my coach Gavin Ross at the time was like, hey, I don't know how good you're going to be, but my goal is for you to come to America or go to America and get a scholarship and study there. And if that's the goal, which I think you can do, you got to choose one or the other. And that was in standard 9 or grade 11 for us. And at that point in time, I made the daunting decision of switching from cricket, which I loved and had represented my province for, to doing swimming. That there was no guarantee I was going to be a top performer on any level.
But it was more of a, you can't get a scholarship with cricket in America, so it made sense. So you're now an Olympic gold medalist because some girl you met when you were 13 was swimming.
That's kind of cool.
Did she know this?
Yeah, she's like we haven't really touched base, but like a lot of articles and stuff I like openly speak about it, and I think it's important. I think it shows how the world is based in pure possibility.
Yeah.
A absolute chance, maybe a chance encounter, but
well, it was. It was like if you had gone after a girl who was into cricket, you probably would have stayed playing cricket the whole time, right?
Probably.
Not too many of those around.
No, not too many of those around at all. But no, exactly. It's something that, and I think that's what life is based on is pure possibility. That
how much do you think it was fate and destiny versus chance?
I don't know.
Do you think you were destined to be who you are today?
Maybe a part of me. Whether you believe in like various universes but I think whether I'd chosen one path, cricket, versus another path, I think I could have been successful in both. But I feel like that is maybe what I was destined to be. I don't know. It's a great question.
When I listen to stories like this, I always think, well, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, decided at some point that, look, you're on the wrong path, and we're going to put you on the right path because this is your destiny.
It was fortuitous, 100%.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay, so here you are. You're going to go compete. You're 17 years old. Mm-hmm. So you're grade 11?
Yeah.
And so you're 17. You're going to go to compete where?
We started off, it was in South Africa. We had our junior nationals and we had our SA short course competitions, and it was first at junior nationals, and then within a year and a half of swimming, went and swam senior nationals in '97. Did okay, nothing amazing, but the next year, so it was within 2.5, 3 years of starting swimming really, that I made my first South African senior team.
Wow.
Which, I mean, obviously, I don't think I was maybe the most talented swimmer.
How old were you? 20, 21?
Oh no, I was 18.
18. Okay.
So
okay.
swam Commonwealth Games in 2000 or 1998.
Okay.
And I'd started in end of 1995 maybe.
So this is up to 3 or 4 years of training.
Yeah.
How many hours a day did you train? I mean, you were at high school.
So many.
So tell me what is that like? Waking up what time in the morning?
So typically wake up about 4:15.
Okay.
Workout would be 5 to 7.
How close was the pool to where you lived?
A couple of miles.
But was it at the school or was it somewhere else?
No, so it would be at the Virgin Active.
Okay.
So it would just be like a 24-hour fitness kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we'd drive over there. I had a friend. She was older. They would come pick me up, drive to the pool.
Back then it was Health and Racket Club.
Health and Racket.
Yes, the
That's
Virgin
it.
came afterwards. But they
100%.
They bought it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'd swim for 2 hours, 5 o'clock to 7. She'd drop me off
2
at home.
hours. How many laps are you doing?
Oh, geez, 4, 5, 6 kilometers in the session.
Wow.
Or just straight swimming. So, well, not straight
Is it
swimming.
endurance mainly training? Or?
It would depend on the day. So I think when people think of us swimming 5, 6 kilometers, it's not just continuous, non-stop. There's specific details in there. So there'll be a warm-up, and then there'll be something that's an endurance set or a speed set or a combination of both, or kicking or pulling. So there's a lot that goes into it on each specific day.
And this was like 5 days a week during school?
6 days a week.
Okay, so what day you take off? Sundays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sundays would be off. Saturday afternoons would be off. I think the way we used to do it was Mondays would be 2 workouts.
2 workouts. So you do 2 hours, then you come back after school?
Then come back after school. And this was typically after cricket or rugby or
Gosh.
something else. So, I mean, the way my day looked was 5 to 7 swimming, 8 to 1:30, 2 o'clock was school. Then I'd go 3 to 5 would be a sport, and then swimming from 6 to 8 or 7 to 8:30, and then have to go home and do homework.
And what time do you go to bed? 10?
Yeah, exhausted.
So you're getting
every
like
single day.
6 hours a night sleep?
Yeah.
Is that what you think was healthy for you?
Probably not, but we also didn't know any different. I think when you want to be the best in the world, I mean, at that point I didn't know I wanted to be the best in the world, but it's when somebody has created a vision for you and you buy into that vision, it's easy to do that. And I think that's part of what my coach understood to be the case is when I've been doing swimming for 4 hours a day already, and then cricket or something else on top of that for 2 hours, that's a lot of energy that goes into that. I mean, that just doesn't even include the schooling component of it. So it's like the need to focus on one thing, like essentialism. What do you need to focus on specifically to be the best that you can be? So when I have 3 or 4 different things, it builds up a lot of fatigue. And but
So, I mean, you're in high school, so you like...
That's the thing.
Yeah, you didn't have anything else.
No,
really
you're
to-
16, 17, 18. You're invincible. You've got energy for days. It's you don't know better. You just cope. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, I remember having very little sleep in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you had to make a choice to drop cricket and go with swimming, and you made that choice. And did you regret it at any point between dropping it and going?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, not that I can remember. I don't look at it now and think I made the wrong choice.
Oh, sure.
I know I could have been successful. Do I think I could have been like an elite batter or bowler?
Maybe, but even if you were, I do not think you'd be playing at this age.
No.
So swimming's got this like longevity for you.
Yeah, I think because of the fact that it's lower impact than cricket might have been. Yeah. Like, I was a fast bowler and would sometimes open the batting or bat from number 1 all the way through number 6, and I remember the stress on my back from being an opening bowler and a fast bowler, and I remember at points having serious back pain and back issues. So it's no. Would I have had the same longevity? Absolutely not. But like, I don't look back at any of the decisions to quit cricket. And I think what came to the head was we had the first team tryouts. First team means essentially, I guess, varsity A team. And I got bowled out, and I was very nonchalant about it. And I said, congratulated the bowler, and I said, "Thank you, sir," to our coach, and he was the umpire at the time. And he was like, "Mr. Schoeman, with an attitude like that, you'll never play first team cricket." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess that makes." And it was just, it happened to parallel my swim coach saying, "Hey, you need to make the decision." So I was like, "Okay, well, I guess it made the decision really easy for me. I was either going to play first team or I wasn't.
Well, did you have any major challenges in high school like that do you think contributed to you being successful today?
Yes and no. So I guess like my mom and dad got divorced when I was 6. So that in and of itself provided a lot of challenges. I remember we like sold our family home, because my mom couldn't afford it. And there was a period of time that there was a lot of uncertainty. So it was like at a period of time we had to move into a friend's garage, and we stayed in a garage.
I mean, South Africa in the 80s and 90s was crazy.
Yeah. And it was just, so a lot of stuff like that. And then she was a lecturer at UNISA in Pretoria. And then I remember a point where we stayed on beds in a dilapidated house, and it was just like, so there's a lot of struggle that built resilience. My dad died when I was 14. So it's like, I remember just before one of the most transformational meets for me, he passed away. There was called the Transvaal Swimming Championships. It was in Johannesburg, and we'd drive through every morning, and we'd swim in the morning, swim in the final, and we'd drive back. And I remember my mom. I remember just a feeling. I got home after a final session, and just a feeling in the house. And my mom came in, and she's like, "Hey, you need to sit down." I was like, "What?" "Oh, your dad died. He died in a car accident."
Oh my gosh.
And it was just, I was like, no. But I spoke to him a day ago. Yeah. And it was kind of rough because then I immediately hopped on the phone and tried to call him. And straight to voice message, "Dad, answer." So a lot of that was tough. But like I had the choice the next day, do I go compete or don't I? And it was like, he'd want me to. So went in, competed, finished second, and like came out of nowhere to finish second to somebody that I idolized at the time. And he's like, "Who are you? Like, how did you just come out of nowhere and finish second," kind of thing. So that was, I think, showed me that like no matter what you're going through, it's like the frame of mind. Like what you think and how you think is going to affect how you perform. So I can take a situation in my life that was tragic and transform it into something that could be a positive.
That must have been rough.
Yeah.
And were you staying with your dad or your mom?
My mom.
Okay.
But I still saw my dad regularly. It's like I'd had really bad shoulder pain or injuries heading into that championship, and he was a doctor, so I hated the idea of needles or injections or anything of the sort. But he came, like I knew my shoulders were sore, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, could you come give me some cortisone injections?" So he came and injected me, and that was the first real time that I had allowed him to practice medicine, kind of thing, on me. And I think that's the last memory, the last time I ever saw him. So it was, it was tough, but it's like I finally allowed my dad to be a dad, kind of thing.
Okay, so you took that negative experience, you channeled it,
Mm-hmm.
and you started building a career in swimming. Tell me what it was like leaving home after school. I guess you went to go study as a student, and I'm guessing your mom didn't have a lot of funds to support you. So how did you go in? Because like this is a story which I think people obviously always interested in, how you hear these stories about people who come from really tough backgrounds. I think it's not always a financial toughness, but just losing your dad, for example, and then going on to do great things afterwards. How did you physically get through university and training? And did you get your scholarship?
Yeah, so I think that was the thing. It's like the more I swam, and I think maybe it was buoyed by a fact that I had to be the best. Like if I wanted to be recognized or for whatever reasons, it's like I knew that I needed to be better all the time. It's not just a question of being, and I think about like identifying my swim start as something that I wanted to improve upon, because it's like I broke my race down into where do I need to get better, and the start was a glaringly obvious thing. And I'd go to a swimming pool every single day, and I'd have a camera out, and I'd videotape myself from the back, from the side, from the front, and I'd watch it over and over and over again, and I'd replay it, and I'd compare it to what was happening. I'd import videos, like VHS videos from the States, and I'd look at it over and over and over again. So it was a question of like I knew what I needed to improve upon, and I did that religiously. And then as I got better, we started getting scholarship offers. and it was like the Auburn University, like best sprint team in the nation at that point in time, 20% offer, and we couldn't afford that. So as much as I wanted to go,
what does that mean? What is a 20% offer?
So say, for instance, if 100% scholarship would cover all of your room, all of your board, all of your books, scholarship for your studies and everything.
So they would subsidize 20%.
Yeah. So imagine, say, for instance, your scholarship's $100,000. A full scholarship would be $100,000 a year. They'd give me $20,000 to cover everything, and then my family would still have to pay $80,000. And we just knew we couldn't afford that.
I mean, in rands, you convert it in today's money, it's 1.6 million rand.
Right.
Which
I mean, it wasn't that per se.
Well,
but
you have to. I mean, on a relative basis, I think the exchange rate back in the 2000s, early 2000s was probably $8-9.
Yeah,
that's
a lot.
It's still $500,000 rand back then,
a lot.
which is a lot of money.
Yeah, so we knew that if I wanted to go to the States, realistically, I'd have to go to a place that offered a full scholarship. And there was a swim coach that was that swam at ASU, Arizona State University, and he was like, "Go to ASU." And I saw the media guide that they sent me that was beautiful, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" But also 20 to 25% offer, and I just knew I couldn't do it. And then I got some amazing offers that were full rides or full scholarships from like Purdue, LSU, you name it, and they didn't have amazing swim teams at the time. And Ryk Neertling, fellow South African who was on the relay with me in 2004, he helped recruit me. He saw me swim and he reported back to the head coach at Arizona. He's like, "Hey, you need to keep an eye on this guy."
Was he at ASU as well?
At University of Arizona.
Okay.
So he was at University of Arizona, and by virtue of that, they started recruiting me, and I came out and swam, or sort of met everybody for 2 weeks, swam a little bit, got introduced to the system, and I just fell in love with it. It was so weird, like landing in Tucson. Like from Pretoria, it's like I know trees and everything, and all of a sudden there's nothing. There's desert. I'm like, oh my God, is anything around here? And went and swam the Commonwealth Games in '98, finished 6th in the 50
Was
free.
that when you were still at university?
No, so I was still in high school.
You were in high school. So
last year of high school.
And so you swam the Commonwealth Games in high school?
Yeah, and I broke the 100 freestyle South African and African record.
Wow.
And then finaled, I think, in the 50 freestyle as well. And based on that, they were like, "Hey, here we go, 100% scholarship." And
amazing. Congrats.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, growing up in South Africa, we have this impression of what America is. And it's just, everything's bigger.
Larger than life.
Everything's better, larger than life.
And it is.
And it is.
It is. It is larger than life. You come here, it's like, it's like when I first got to America, the first place I landed was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I got into a bus, and the Santa Monica Blue bus, and I rode up and down with that. And I walked into Beverly Wilshire. I walked the whole way from Santa Monica to Rodeo Drive, which is quite a long way. But I was just so happy to be in America and walk around and look at all these buildings, and it's a phenomenal place.
That is amazing. There were two standout moments that showed me how out of my depth I was. And one was landing. I flew from London, or Johannesburg to London to Chicago. And I'd never been in an airport as big as Chicago O'Hare. And having to catch a SkyTrain, that was daunting. And then I remember, I flew 3 days after I matriculated. So school year in South Africa obviously ends in November.
Yeah. You didn't get time to party with your friends?
No, but to me, I was so focused on swimming. It's like, to me, partying wasn't really.
No, because I remember matric, that was it. Like after matric school was over, you were just done. It was just
not an option for me. Yeah. And I remember one Saturday morning finishing up a workout, and the team was like, "Hey, we're all going to Starbucks. Do you want to come with?" I was like, "Oh, Starbucks, this thing that I've seen on TV. Like, oh my gosh." Yeah. And I remember going into Starbucks and like people in front of me, I want a mocha frappuccino with this, that, and the next thing, and I want a blah, 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 blah. And I was so confused.
You're like, "Can I just get a coffee?"
I blanked. Deer in the headlights came to me and they're like, "Hey, what do you want?" And I was like, I'll just have a water, please. So I was just, I mean, there are a lot of daunting moments having come across, and I think being so far removed from family and friends, it's difficult because now I've been here since 99 essentially, and like have lost so much time with people I love and care about, have grown a lot by virtue of everything else, but have lost a lot. So I think it's that juxtaposition of what's important and what's not. Not that I'm saying that wasn't important to me, but that being here and trying to fulfill a dream and a goal is also important. So being able to try and balance it where I can get home and see friends and family at points and be here and still live out a dream is important.
Yeah. It's a sacrifice anyone makes as an immigrant to a new country. You basically leave behind everything you know, everyone you love, and you try and go chase after whatever dreams you have. It's part of the American dream.
Yeah.
So you got here on the scholarship for University of Arizona, and that was in 2000?
So in 99.
99.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the journey between that and the Olympic Games in 2004. So what did you have to do to get into those games?
Yeah, so I came in as not kind of, in South Africa we swim meters, but in the US the main way of swimming is yards. So I hadn't really had very much exposure to that at all, if any, and got in, and within, I guess I started school January of the year and then went to my first NCAA championships in March. First NCAA championships, finished top 3 I think in the 100 freestyle and top 5 in the 50 freestyle, and like who's this new kid on the block? So managed to make an immediate impact. Was the top swimmer in the 50 and the 100 freestyle on my team. And with that, it was like, okay, well now I'm swimming fast enough to be considered to qualify for the Olympic team. And in 2000, or maybe the end of 99, I had swum a time that was ranked number 1 in the world in the 50-meter freestyle, and kind of went into the Olympics in 2000 expecting to win. I went in ranked top 3 in the world, and it's like, that's what you're going to end up in. But it doesn't work like that. Like, expectations are something that don't often serve us well. And it missed the finals in the 50 free, missed the finals in the 100 free, was absolutely devastated. Came back the next year for the World Championships, won bronze in the 50-meter freestyle. And I think that sort of showed me that I was capable of achieving on a high level. Commonwealth Games in 2002, won the gold in the 50 freestyle. 2003 World Champs, that was heartbreak. Came in and didn't perform well at all. And I think that was in Barcelona in 2003. Why? So I'd spent the summer training at the University of California in Berkeley with a coach out there, and it just didn't work. Like, he wasn't there for the most of the time. He was away doing swim clinics, so I didn't feel like I was tapped into a system that was maybe geared at that point in time for high performance. Although there were other swimmers that were swimming well, nobody collectively did their best. So there was a lot of frustration in that. I went in and maybe just once again expected myself to do better. I tied for first reserve. So in swimming, if you tie for first reserve, you still have to do a swim-off, meaning both of you have to race against each other again to see who gets first priority. And I did that, super frustrated, super upset, pissed off actually, and the time I went in that swim-off would have gotten me top 3 going into semifinals. So that didn't make things easier. Yeah. And I think when I got back to the University of Arizona, I expressed a lot of that frustration. And I got to the point where I was very much negative about everything. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. This doesn't work for me. And there was a time where the head coach came out to me, and Frank Bush, and he's like, hey, Roland, either you're going to buy into the system and you're going to do what we do, or you're going to leave. Like, we love that you've been here for so long. We love that you've had the success you have. But unless you buy into the system and everything that we're offering, you're not welcome here. There are people around you that look up to you. And if you're sitting on the wall bitching and moaning between sets, people see this. And that's not the kind of leader or example we need at this university. So take some time, make the decision. And I think intrinsically I knew at that point in time, like, I wasn't happy with who I was. I was complaining, I was bitching and moaning about everything. And I went to I had a bit of a cry, and immediately 30, 40 minutes later, went up on deck and I was like, hey, Frank, we're good. Let's do this. And I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't moments where I still tapped into that, I guess, level of frustration, or maybe not wanting to do things, or having that same pattern of complaining, but it was a lot better. And I think that's what brought up the success, is we kind of looked at the relay as a possibility for a medal. And like I broke the South African record in December. Then Lyndon Ferns broke the South African record in December. Well, he broke it first, then I broke it second. So all of a sudden, there were two of us that were ranked top 3 in the world. And then Rake, we knew, was a solid swimmer. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, this is where our energy is going. Like, we have this chance in the 400 or 4x100 freestyle relay to win a medal. It's like, we don't know if there's ever going to be an opportunity for us to win individually. But collectively, the 4 of us can stand up. And at that point in time, it was the 3 of us we knew, Rake, Lyndon, and myself, that we could stand up and possibly contend for a medal. You know, we went back to South Africa in April for the Olympic trials. I swam the fastest time in the world. Rake got second, Lyndon got third, and then Darian Townsend, youngster at the time, got fourth. And all of a sudden, collectively, like, we had 3 people that were 48 seconds in the 100 freestyle. There was no other country in the world that had 3 people going 48 seconds, and Darian was 49 mid. So now all of a sudden we had this shot at Olympic glory. So I think it was really...
So before you raced that, you guys statistically had the best times?
Yes.
Okay.
It was ours to lose, essentially. But once again, reminded of 2000, where I went in ranked top 3 in the world, and that didn't pan out that way. So being vigilant at that. So I think there was a lot of growth from 2000 to 2004. I think we see this growth as a linear process, but it's not. For me, it was this turbulent up and down. And I think part of it was based on the realization of, like, how many blind spots do I have? Like, I didn't want people pointing out my blind spots because I saw that as an attack on me, but came to understand that I have blind spots for a reason, and I need people around me to be able to say, hey, you need to consider this. And it was so difficult for me for Frank to sit me down and say, hey, you're acting like an absolute idiot, or you're messing up in this, and this way, knowing it intrinsically, but having him do so from a place of love, because ultimately he wanted me to get better. And I think that's a lot of what people fear, is we don't want people to criticize us. We don't want people to judge us. But it also depends on who it's from. It's different if it's from a social media message, somebody saying, to heck with you, you don't know what you're talking about, versus somebody that knows you well, has spent time as a fatherly figure and says to you, hey, this is ultimately where your low-hanging fruits are. This is where you need to improve upon. And until you do this, you're not going to be your best self. So it was coming to the understanding, the realization that I need to be able to process this and not see it as an attack.
Well, that's the thing about blind spots. We all have them about ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's you can't see the back of your own head. And we're all sitting in first-person view the whole time, no matter what we do. And it's very hard for us to get a third-person perspective. Mm-hmm. So that's why you need people around you who will call out your bullshit.
Yep.
And they will say to you, hey, you're screwing up.
Yeah.
It's very, very important that you have people around you are not, they're not treating you with kid gloves. Yeah. You got to have your friends, your coaches. And that's why, by the way, that's why even the best players have a coach. Mm-hmm. You know, the coach is not as good a swimmer as you are, but he can see the things that you can't see, and he can help you. And that's the biggest reason that I think people have coaches, because you can't coach yourself.
No.
You can try, but you're probably going to fail at it.
So many people do. And I think so many people, we've gotten so soft in so many ways. Mm. And we don't like people criticizing or judging or pointing things out. But to me, that's your biggest barrier to entry. It's like, if you can get over the fact that somebody, and obviously, like I say, we're not listening to just every critique that comes through, any direct messages or whatever it comes through. I mean, being on X.
Oh, I had a guy today on Facebook accusing me of stealing his money. Okay. And he's posting all these WhatsApp messages where it's apparently me messaging him and then taking over his crypto account. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, you've been scammed. Yeah. That's not me. It's, and people, unfortunately, it's a very sad state we have right now. Yeah. I think social media in particular, it's really, really difficult right now in the social media world for people to see what's real and what's not.
And I think that's the key, is being able to separate ourselves from that. And that's the hardest thing, is we can have 100 different people telling us how amazing we are, how we're doing a good job, whatever it might be. And then we have that one person that means absolutely nothing to us. Yeah. Say, you're awful, you've done this. Yeah. And we take that to heart. And I think that's the thing, is being able to
get a thick skin. I think if you're going to be on social media, and I've been on for a long, I think my Twitter blocked list is like 2,500 people, because and I just block people who just generally just rude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind having discourse. I don't mind discussing things, but if you come with an attacking perspective. Or you just try to be just rude about things. Like, why do I want to even, discuss anything with you?
I think there are people that are just set out to try and trigger you in any way, shape, or form, and I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I'm looking for meaningful engagement.
Exactly.
I don't mind if you have a different viewpoint on me. Every single day, there's points where I look back and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I've changed my perspective on this, that, and the next thing. So if you give me logical, well thought out information on how and why I should change my perspective, I'll happily listen to you. Like when I was younger, I didn't feel that. And I think that's why it was so difficult for me to take my coach's advice to heart maybe initially, but now I'm completely the opposite. And I think for me, you talk about having a thick skin. I think it's surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to give you the right information. Maybe not what you like, but the people that you trust that will come to you from a place of love and say, hey, Vinny, man, I don't know if you've seen it, but this, that, and the next thing. Or Roland, hey, when you said this, that, and the next thing, I'm not sure if you realized it, but this is what it seemed like.
I mean, there was a book, The $1 Trillion Coach, about I think his name was Bill Campbell, if I remember correctly, but he passed away recently. But he coached all the top execs in Silicon Valley. Here you got, and then they talk about his history. He was actually a football coach at one point in his life, but he started coaching all the top execs, Google, I think, Facebook, whatever, like everywhere. And what's surprising is people don't realize that even the biggest CEOs in the world, running multi-billion, $100 billion companies, they need a coach.
100%.
Because they can't see the back of their own heads. You need someone there looking over your shoulder and giving you advice from that perspective. So coaching is critical.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't matter if you're a world champion, top CEO. You always need some sort of help, somebody to help.
And if you reject that, that's even more reason why you need someone to do it.
Yes.
If you think you don't need a coach, then you probably need a coach a lot more than you do.
Right.
Because it's that inner sort of ego that gets in the way of your success.
Yeah, what part of you believes that you do not need somebody that helps guide you in specific directions?
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to, so you qualified for the Olympics, you got the dream team on your side. Tell me, what is it like going to the Olympics as an athlete? Like Olympic Village, tell me some fun stories, whatever. Like what happened there?
I don't know if I can tell you all the stories. No, but it's something so special about being in a place that is blocked off, and all it is the top athletes in the world. People that are, I mean, like in 2008, they were like Kobe Bryant and them were walking around. So it's just the top athletes in the world all competing for their Olympic dream. Once every 4 years, getting together, like the dining halls the size of several football fields together, and it's
really
it's unbelievable.
Seriously, that big?
Yeah. So I mean, McDonald's was a key sponsor, and they'd have a McDonald's.
They're feeding you McDonald's at the Olympic Village.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So they'd be smaller countries that don't have at the end.
Okay, after.
So I mean, after you compete. So I mean, there's nothing. At that stage, there wasn't anything better than coming back from a big night and having some Maccas in the morning and what have you. But I mean, there were smaller countries that don't have McDonald's, and all they do was they'd spend their time there. So it's just this experience that you haven't had, and by virtue of the fact that they're in your face, soaking it all up. But I mean, different cuisines, Asian cuisine. Steak. I mean, it's just anything you can think of.
So aren't Olympic athletes on like special eating programs and training programs?
A lot are.
Didn't your team, like captain or whatever, the coaches say, hey, you got to eat so much carbs, so much protein, so many fats?
Not for us. I know some of the synchro gymnasts, they were very, very routine about what they were eating. For us,
why the difference?
I think a lot of it depends on the coach. So if you look at the Eastern Bloc countries, very regimented, very programmed about what you can eat, what you can't eat. Until you're done, you have to eat X amount. And I don't know what the real reasons are. It's a lot of unhappy looking people. But that's the thing. It's like there's such a gamut of different people there. You're looking at people that are competing for nations that have no chance at medals. And they're so excited about just being at an Olympics for the very first time and being able to tap into that. And then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have the top 5 in the world that are set for medals and being so regimented, so professional about what they're doing and trying to win medals. So it's just, there's this huge bandwidth of the best in the world to Olympic qualifiers, and that kind of adds to the energy and the excitement of it, because being able to really tap into that energy of the best in the world and like people that are there because of the love. And I think that's what, it's like I look at my first Olympics versus 2004, 2008. Like my first Olympics, it was just excitement about being there, being a part of that process and that energy, versus 2004 and on. Don't walk around too much because you have to save your legs.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy this because you have to be professional. Don't let anybody see that you're having fun because, you have to be stoic. You have to be, staunch and focused in the way you have to be professional. And I think with that added comes a whole lot of pressure.
And you have to train as well. So you're still training before the big day. Okay. So let's fast forward to the big day. So the big day comes. Yep. You guys are nervous as hell.
Yeah, it was interesting. Before the races, you're pretty nervous. So I remember the night before, like chicken's just so dry. So we learned you don't eat chicken before a race because it's super dry, or you're going to have to drink a lot of water with it. And we went in, as South Africans, we didn't have a big team. We had 4 swimmers, and most countries, big countries, America, Australia, Canada, England, have 6. So what happens is they have 2 alternates. So your 2 top best swimmers will rest in the morning, so they can focus on giving their best effort at night. So you'll swim the positions 3 through 6 in the morning, and we didn't have anybody that was going to ensure that we made the final. So it was, I went first, Lyndon went second, Darian went third, Rake went fourth. I had the best start in the world, so it was like, let me try and get us the lead. We almost broke the world record in the morning, and therein was just an affirmation: we're on. We are exactly where we need to be. And it was even we knew that if we just swam that exact same time at night, we'd win. But we knew by virtue of the fact that we were going into finals, there was going to be more energy and excitement and everything, that we would be faster. And I think like when you get to the pool, it's on automatic pilot. You're not thinking about things, but it's in that time between where you start what happened? You start looking at the US's order. Well, what happens if they swim this person first? What happens if they swim this person first? Who are we going to? What are the matchups going to be?
Just help me understand why it matters. I mean, you guys are going to go out there. You're going to swim against. You're not looking at the other guy in the pool. You're just swimming.
It shouldn't matter. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Okay. But you're still trying to look at the matchups. It's like, okay, well, you paint yourself a scenario. Well, if I'm going off first and there's somebody that's going slower, we might have a lead of X. Okay. If I'm going against somebody that's going out faster than me, so then how do I change my race strategy? If at all, I need to know and be aware of the fact that they're going to be ahead of me, and then not change things by virtue of the fact that they are taking out. So it's just trying to stick to your race plan and be aware of any scenario that might play out. But for us, it was, and I remember having watched the movie Any Given Sunday before, and how Al Pacino speaks about like inches and the game of inches, and this is our Sunday, and it was a Sunday. And it was like, this is our day. This is our Sunday. It's the 4 of us. There's so much that we've done behind the scenes to prepare. Like we knew that the pool in Athens was going to be wavy. And I don't know how many other teams, we have aerators. Having trained at the University of Arizona, we have aerators to cool the pool water because it gets so hot in summer. So what we did was we created different streams. So we'd have to swim against the stream. So by the time we got to Athens, we were used to the water, like the wind coming across the pool towards us.
The other swimmers weren't, probably.
Maybe not. But it was like we had prepared for anything. So that by the time I dove in...
Just to pause there for a second. You went there. Did you have any sponsors?
No.
So you guys went on your own dime, the university paid, or...
Not even the university. So we were part of... Paid, we were part of, at that point in time, SASCOC. And they were Operation Excellence. So it was there was funding, a little bit of funding provided by the government for people that were medal potential, and we had been earmarked for that. So there was a little bit of funding that we got. Because you're on the South African team, the Olympians, all their transportation costs and everything for the Olympic is funded. So, but it's not a question of you get there on your own dime. At least I don't think so anymore. But we had all of that covered for us. We had certain preparation expenses paid for us. But still, I mean, we didn't have any sponsors.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at the US, Australia, England, they're getting $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to help them prepare. And we were doing it sort of in spite. No, I wouldn't say in spite, but we didn't know any different. This is what we had, and we were going to make the most of it. I remember
reading a story, I think, after you guys won. It was just, you were quoted as saying that, like, if someone had given you a 2,000 Rand a month sponsorship, you'd have taken it at that point.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I remember standing on the podium with Lyndon Ferns, and there were rumors of what our Olympic medal bonuses were going to be. And I remember, like, putting my arm around him. I was like, dude, we got some money coming in. And then after the Olympic Games, the SASCOC or our Olympic Committee announced that there was no prize money at all. Nobody was going to get a cent.
Wow.
So then there was a private person, Bertie Lubner,
yes,
that came out and gave us 20,000 Rand each for, and that's what, $1,200 for winning.
For the country.
Yeah, and then that was gold, silver, and bronze for me.
The Sunday Times should have paid you for the front page cover. They probably sold a bunch of papers in that one.
Yeah, but it's just.
But so
it was a struggle.
Let's back up for a second. So you get there on the day, you're racing against the American team with Phelps in them.
Yep.
And you guys are really like psyched, right?
Yep.
And it's a nighttime. This is the nighttime finals. Okay, so talk me to give me like a 1 or 2 minute story around how amazing was that?
Yeah, so there's the main pool, and then off to the side was a smaller pool that we were warming up in. And we were just so laser focused. Everything we did was together as a team. Like the four of us, we bought into each other. That's what it was about. We were not individuals. We each had to swim individually, but it was for a collective goal of being the best. And I remember walking down together because there's several call rooms. So you go in and hey, okay, South African team, they make sure you got the right swimsuit on and whatever. So you check off your name, and then we go into the second call room where you wait to go out. And I remember just standing in front of a TV watching the races that were going on. And I was just oblivious to the fact that I was standing in front of other people. And the best swimmer in the world at that point in time, Alexander Popov, a Russian swimmer that was just like, I idolized growing up. Like he's like, hey, Roland.
He knows your name?
Yeah, he's like, is your dad a glass maker? Meaning, am I see-through? And it's like, I could have taken that personally in that moment. It's like, he's talking about my dad. My dad's dead. Is he trying to get to me? And I was like, Alex, you know my dad? So it's like we were just so focused in that point in time. And it's just like when we went out, like if you just watch the videos, I was laser focused. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to get from here to there and back as quick as I could and give my teammates, my country, the biggest lead possible. So there was nothing that was standing in our way at that point in time.
Well, let's just cut to a quick clip of you guys winning the Olympics right now.
Half a second under world record pace. These four South African, they've come out of nowhere, but they're taking this event by storm.
South Africa, gold in the relay, and look at that time!
The South Africans understandably delighted with their world record.
That was an amazing win. What happened afterwards? Like, talk me to you guys are up on, I guess, in the locker rooms cheering. Like, what's it like? You just won an Olympic gold medal.
It was tough because I had a race the next day. So it's while you're experiencing this incredible joy. It's like as soon as we won, like walking through, I remember you walk through this zone and some of the other swimmers, there was a Swedish guy, Eric Lafleur, that trained at the University of Arizona. He came down and gave us hugs. And like when we got back to the village and we went to dinner, there were South Africans in the dining hall that had waited for us and were clapping for us. So it was
That's awesome.
like this incredible high, but also knowing that the very next morning I had to compete again. So being able to reframe things and try to get to bed early enough and not have that affect my performances in the morning. And that was kind of the challenge.
So this is the discipline I want to spend some time talking about. I mean, you're an incredibly disciplined person. And that's what makes you a truly elite athlete, you know, in your field at one point, the best in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're now, you know, you're still competing and you're still trying to, you know, be the best in the world again. And, you know, the amount of discipline it has for you to be in the level of fitness you're at today versus 20 years ago, you're picking up a gold medal. I mean, it's unheard of for someone to come back 20 years later and even compete, let alone go for gold, silver, even bronze. How do you, or rather, what advice do you have for people out there who are trying to become elite athletes or elite at anything really? Like if you want to be the best in your field, the best in your sport, whatever it is, from waking up in the morning, first thing, through the entire day and then through the week and the month, what is your advice for people if you were coaching them right now?
Like there's a quote that I saw recently and posted on my Instagram talking about, like, don't say you don't have time. Say it's not a priority. And that's the reality is I've tried to prioritize things that'll help me grow. And sometimes I don't know I need the thing to help me grow, but it's been a question of what do I want to achieve? And then going after that and doing everything in my power to get there. It's like, for me, like I spoke earlier on about like looking at older people. And I think we get this idea that once you're 25, you've reached your sell-by date, or when you're 30, or when you're 40. And how many people in this world are stopping what they're doing and what they love and they're passionate about at X age or Y age? Or how many people are 40 and they're not wanting to risk failure because they want to try and do something that they've always dreamed about doing? Whether you're 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter what the age is we have this belief and this idea that when we reach a specific period of time, that's our sell-by date. And we have so much scar tissue from the past about performances and trying new things that we don't want to do it. It's like if you look at a baby, and when babies are learning to walk, they don't get upset because they fall down because the baby around the corner learned how to walk 3 weeks ago. The baby's there and it just does what it does. It's like, how do we get to a place where we don't fear challenges, where we don't fear growth? And I think that's the thing is, like, I want to fail. I want to grow. I want to succeed. Like, what are my limits? I don't want my limits to be defined by what somebody else believes is a limit or what somebody in the past has deemed as this cutoff date for being an elite swimmer. Like, I want to be an example to, like, younger swimmers, somebody that might be in their 30s thinking, hey, can I compete at a certain level until I'm in my 40s? Like, I want to be an example for that. If not just in the world of swimming, I want to be that for other people. It's like, if you have a dream, go out and try and do it. And don't half-ass it. Don't be half in, half out. Be 100% in. Because if you're doing anything less than that, it's a disservice to you. You know, so if I was coaching anybody and the people that I do work with, it's just be all in. Identify what it is and where it is that you need growth and development. Maybe it's a question of just need the challenges and exposure to something. Surround yourself with the right coaches, the right people to help with that development. And, you know, do it every single day. If you think you're going to be the best in the world at doing something an hour in the day, maybe you will. And maybe you're just really gifted at that, but probably not. And
well, actually, that would bring me to my next point. It would be, how do you surround yourself with people that make you more effective at being who you are and chasing your goals? Because often you have people with a great mindset. Like, I know growing up, I always had this like success, go mindset. And I was stuck in a small town where everyone I dealt with were, you know, not planning to go anywhere. They wanted to stay there, and a lot of them did. And it's not a judgment on them. Like, people should do whatever they want, but I wanted more.
Yep.
So I wanted to be with and meet other people that were trying to be more progressive. And, you know, how do you think about surrounding yourself with the best people?
I think what I've noticed over time is that the best people will appear when I'm ready. I mean, maybe that sounds cheesy, but when I was younger, like I would take advice from random people, whether they had my best intentions at heart or not. It's like I remember an Australian coach years and years ago. He's like, hey, I think you need to change your stroke to this, that, and the next thing. I was like, oh my gosh, he's worked with some amazing swimmers. Maybe not understanding where his motivation came from. And I started trying to mess with my stroke and implement changes. And it's trying to understand that people that have succeeded at the highest level, in my experience, won't ever bring you down and won't ever tell you can't achieve it. If somebody went up to Michael Phelps, and a young swimmer, he's like, hey, Michael, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to be as good as you are. You know what Michael will say? Awesome, go for it. But the problem is living in a small town or surrounding yourself with a small group of people or small-minded people is that they'll pull you down and say, hey, that's a stupid idea. And that could come from a variety of different reasons. Maybe they themselves don't feel capable of doing that. Maybe they don't want you to succeed, whatever it might be, that becomes a thing. And for me, they say you are or will be in like the top 5 people you surround yourself with.
The average of the top 5 people, yeah.
And to me, I just naturally over time find myself gravitating towards people that I can learn from. I don't ever want to be the smartest or the best in the room. And there are certain people in my life that...
Well, if you are, you're averaging yourself down.
Right.
You always want to be people smarter than you.
Yeah.
More accomplished.
That being said, it's also understanding where those people play roles in your life. Like there are people in my life that want the best from me, but they want me to be around more. Being able to not necessarily compartmentalize that, but being able to understand, I love these people, I care about these people, and for the value that they do bring to my life. But if my goal is this, I might need to sacrifice this for a bit in pursuit of that. I can always come back to them. These are people I love and care about. But then being able to spend my time around people that are going to help me. It's like I had this beautiful opportunity to go and swim in Australia after the World Championships. And it was by virtue of the fact that we started communicating with each other and the opportunity arose. If you told me 6 months ago I'd have the opportunity to go to Australia, train with one of the top coaches there, Tim Lane, and world champion Cameron McAvoy, I'd been like, oh, whatever. But I think it's when you get to a place, like your teachers show themselves. And I'm sure you've found that with yourself as well. When you grow a little bit and you start having better understandings and realizations,
you attract those people towards you.
100%.
Okay, let's do a bit of a fast forward here. So you got the gold in 2004. What happened in the 2008, 12, 16?
Okay, fast forward. Long story short.
Yeah.
2008, went to the Olympics, got 6th in the 50 freestyle. Can't remember where I was in the 100 freestyle. 2012, 6th again in the 50 freestyle.
How did that make you feel? Those two back
I was shattered. I was absolutely shattered.
And why didn't you perform? What are the reasons? What do you think?
Yeah, I think part of it was overtraining.
Okay.
Not knowing.
So you were prepared. You just were.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Is fatigue masks fitness. Yeah. So the more fatigued you are, the more you believe you're unfit because you're not attaining those times. So for me, that was the case. It's like I'm not fit enough.
And you've learned from that now.
I have.
Because you were telling me earlier, off camera, that you went from doing 5 kilometers a day 3 times a week.
Yeah, probably 6 days a week. So it was between 3 to 5, 6 Ks a day.
And this is recently?
Recently.
In the past year?
Yeah.
And now you've changed your training schedule to what?
Yeah, 5 kilometers, 5 to 6, 7 kilometers a week, if that.
So you're doing more intense training?
Yeah, very much more specific.
More specific training,
and I think it's
less of it.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is trying to really focus on recovery. So it's like between 2004 and 2016, like what we didn't discuss is 2004 having won the gold in the 100 or the 4x100 freestyle. 2 days later winning silver in the 100 freestyle and not wanting to, like I didn't want that medal. Yeah. Like I wanted gold. Yeah. I was a failure now. You know,
you picked up a silver medal after a gold and you felt like a failure.
Because winning was the only option. Yeah. That's what I believed. And going into the
you obviously realize that there are people in the sport would die for just being a podium.
But that's the thing is, if you'd asked me the week before the Olympics
you've
started,
been okay with it.
I mean,
but after
Olympic
gold,
silver?
silver was never good enough.
It wasn't good enough. And then coming to the 50 freestyle,
Okay.
a few days after that, winning bronze,
You got bronze. Oh,
I wanted 3 golds.
okay.
I was only successful in my eyes and in the eyes of the world if I had won 3 golds. Because
come
nobody,
on. Like, but you went back home, you got a hero's welcome.
yeah, but nobody, to me, the story I told myself was that nobody remembers second. Nobody remembers third. The only way people remember you is when you win gold. The only way people remember you is when you're the best. And I think that was a story that played out once again in 2008 at the Olympics, 2012, is my identity became firmly ingrained with Roland the swimmer, what my performances are. And unless I performed at the highest level, I was somehow less value, less of a person. And that sort of continued to get worse and worse and worse. And that was a bit of the decline, whereas in 2016, went to the South African Olympic trials, finished 3rd, didn't qualify for the team, and now my identity was shattered. Like I was Roland the swimmer, Roland the Olympian. Now I was going for Olympic Games and I didn't qualify. What am I now?
So how did you, I mean, it's clear from sitting here and talking to you, your mindset's changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you change your mindset from that, if I don't achieve this, I'm no longer good enough? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people see failure to achieve their goals as a failure upon themselves, and that they're not, they're not enough anymore. How did you change that?
A lot of time, a lot of help, finding coaches and working with people that help me see things and understand the world to be different. And like I think coming from South Africa, it's like, well, I think most people, not even just South Africans, is my relationship to failure was that if I fail, it says something about me. Whereas and I think that's the thing with sport, is if you go to the Olympics and you don't win gold or silver or bronze, or pretty much gold, you're a failure. Like if you look at the South African rugby team, like if you don't win the World Cup, if you finish 2nd, you're a failure.
Well, the New Zealand guys were basically in tears because they felt they're failures.
Exactly, but they're not.
They're not failures. I mean, they were the 2nd best team.
Exactly, and that's the thing is it's being able to change my relationship with failure. It's like if I could go back in time and say to myself, or give myself one lesson, it'd be to fail more often, because that's feedback.
The younger you are, the more you should be failing. You should be failing every year of your life until you're successful.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Is now we want to give out participation medals. We don't want to encourage failure, and I think that's the biggest crock of nonsense. We need people to be better adapted at dealing with failure, because to me, it's that failure is feedback. Every single time I touch the wall or do something in my life that I'm not happy with or I deem as a failure, there's an opportunity to reflect and grow. When you touch the wall and you win a gold medal, it's very rare that you look back and you're like, okay, well, in this race, where could I have gone better? Like if you have a multi-billion-dollar deal,
so true.
Where do you look back?
We reflect more on our failures than our successes.
100%.
We learn more from our failures. Because once
100%.
you bank the success, you just kind of move on.
Exactly. So to me, that's like it's taken a lot of growth, and you've seen it as well. You've been a part of a lot of growth over the last year, and that's exciting that I've been able to do that. It's frustrating that I didn't do it sooner, but therein lies the perfectionist.
There's a reason for everything.
100%. Therein lies the perfectionist within me of wanting to do things better, and it's taken a lot of growth and a lot of. I think what it's taken is moments where I've had to wonder, like about my life. Like the worst things in my life have precipitated or fostered the most amount of growth.
I think having known you for a while now and I'm watching your growth, I think you have the right mindset to get, to qualify at least and go to the Olympics again, which I'll be cheering you on as much as I'll even fly there to watch you. So, and I think a lot of it's going to do with the mental state. Your mental state's better than it was maybe a decade ago, and physical. I think you're changing things up, and I think your body's going to adapt to it. You said you were very sore coming in here today from training, which is it's a good thing, right? In some ways, you mean you're pushing the boundaries of what you've been doing before. But I want to touch on something which I think we heard about in the press. We saw what happened with you in what year was it? 2019. 2019. Yeah. There was doping allegations against you, And I want to help you set the record straight on that because, some people would have heard about them and never watched the follow-up to what actually happened and how you had it contested. But do you want to give us give me a quick background on that, what happened and how how it got cleared up?
Yeah, obviously, as a swimmer or as an international athlete, you are drug tested. That's just part of what we submit to willingly. It's not a question of not wanting to or not doing it. Something that I've done for years and years and years. I've had hundreds and hundreds of drug tests and never worried about it. I remember the morning, had a month before, had tested, results came back, blood and urine negative. Obviously, that was expected. Had the drug tester come in again, gave my sample willingly, not an issue. A month later, got tested again, same thing. That came back negative, but there was the space between the first negative and the second negative, and we're still waiting on this result. And then got the result and the notification that there was a adverse analytical finding. So obviously within the urine, they found a contaminated, a marker.
Okay.
And that was kind of surreal for me. It was just like waking up and seeing the email.
How did it make you feel? Like when you
No,
saw
I was
that?
shattered. I was in Washington, D.C. doing a swim clinic. Got the email and I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way. This can't be. There's absolutely no way. I've never done this. I'm not. So I called a friend and agent who'd represented another swimmer, Brazilian guy that had tested positive for a contaminated supplement. I was like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, I know you wouldn't ever do this. This is my recommendation. This is the lawyer you should get in touch with, and did that. And as athletes, they test your A sample, and then you can elect to either accept that as the decision. And for me, it was never an option. I've never done this, so I want the B sample tested. So then they test the B sample to either confirm that it was in fact a contaminated or there's something in your urine, or there's not. Tested it, came back that there's still. So it found out to be a trace elements of, trace elements is probably the wrong word, but
a contaminated.
Yeah, and just such a low. It's so difficult to give you my explanation because once again, it's my opinion, and they're going to people out being like he's a steroid user or whatever it is.
But what was the source of this?
We couldn't ever discover that.
Okay, was it a supplement or you think?
Yeah. So part of the problem is, as most people know who take supplements, it's for a month. You start it on day 1 and finish it on day 3 or day 30, and then the International Doping Association was notified me 2 months after the fact.
Okay.
So we contested. Had they let us know, we'd be able to test the actual supplement that I was taking at that point in time. And for me, it was a bit of a scramble. It's like, well, I don't have access to anything that I was taking.
What do you think it was?
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. But I mean, I spent over $100,000 of money that I didn't have to try and prove I was innocent.
Okay.
Sent every single supplement I was taking, every supplement my girlfriend at the time was taking, just to try and see what could be contaminated. And obviously couldn't come back. And went to Lausanne to FINA, World Aquatics headquarters at that stage, and had a hearing. They deemed I did everything in my power to mitigate ingestion of a contaminated substance. So they said, based on that, I get a year in which I have to sit out of swimming. And we were like, okay, perfect. It was either that or 4-year ban because they deemed that I'd done so willingly.
But it was funny because it was 1 out of 3 months basically.
Yeah.
So month 1 and month 3 you were clear, but month 2 something happened.
Exactly. So we contested that so that there was never an intention. They have to establish intent. And I said, okay, well, if I was intending to do it, then surely they wouldn't be bookended by negative tests. Yeah. And had I wanted to cheat, do you think I would have answered the door and let somebody in to come and take my sample if I'd knowingly done something? No. So the World Anti-Doping Association ended up appealing the original decision. And so then we went to the Court of Arbitration of Sport and had another hearing. Court of Arbitration, once again, believed that we did everything to mitigate. And what they decided was 2 years. But then what happened was I only got notified of a 2-year ban almost a year after the fact.
Oh my gosh.
So had they notified me at the time that it was 2 years, I still would have been able to try and compete at the 2021 Olympics. But they only notified me almost a year after the fact. So once again, it's you notify me late and eliminate my opportunity to test the supplements I was taking at that point in time to see if there was a substance in it.
And so this was why you missed the 2021 Olympics.
Why I missed the opportunity to try and qualify.
Yeah.
So
now you really are focused on 2024 to...
Yeah, because for me, it's a
personal thing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fuck. I mean, I don't know if I can say that, but a bit of a fuck you to the World Anti-Doping Association, and because it's like, okay, well, and that's sort of what's led me down. I was very much a black and white thinker. It's like I was the person where if somebody got tested positive for doping, I would like go to the public or the media and be on my Instagram or my Twitter and speak out about them. And I started seeing that the world wasn't black and gray or black and white. And I think that's what precipitated a lot of growth, is like the shattering of what other people were going to think about me. And that was difficult because I knew the level of judgment in which I judged others, and to now be judged the same way I judged other people.
It's humbling.
Very.
It's made you a stronger person, though.
100%. Yeah. So it's like for a long period of time, I've believed that I was a victim of circumstance. But looking back, I was like, I needed that. I was a benefactor of the universe for my overall growth. Mm-hmm. So happy to say that's behind me. Yeah. Obviously, like you said earlier on, I swam at the World Championships this year. The goal is to go to a 5th Olympic Games next year. First South African to ever qualify for 5 Olympic Games. Incredible. That's the goal. I want to prove, I want to be an example to other people. And also, I know that there will be people out there, and not that it matters what they think, but a small part of me, the human part of me, is like, I want you to see that this is possible.
That's amazing. Okay. Give me some advice that you can offer to young athletes who have aspirations for the Olympic Games next year. And not even young athletes, any athlete. Any athlete that wants to aspire to be Olympic Games, what's your advice to them in terms of mental training, high-level stuff? Like, what should they really fixate on?
How much time do we have?
I'll give you a minute on this one.
Oh, no, okay, good. I think ultimately there are going to be people that tell you cannot do anything.
Yeah. The naysayers.
The naysayers. Don't let anybody else determine the things you can and cannot do.
Just heads down and go for it.
Heads down and go for it. I think be so pedantic about the areas in which you can improve. Surround yourself with the right coaches, the right people that will help facilitate your growth. And believe. If that is your dream, if that is your goal, be 100% in. Not 90-10, not 99-1. Be 100% committed to that, what that is. And if there is a moment where you fail, use that feedback. Use that to grow. Use that to learn going into the next race.
Tell me what sacrifices that you've made for your career in swimming, not that you regret, that you wish you didn't have to make as a sacrifice.
The biggest one that stands out is being so far away from my mom and sister and close family and friends in South Africa. I've been here for half my life. I've missed half of my sister's life. I've missed 20 odd years with my mom, people that I love and care about. And seeing them once or twice a year, that is difficult. I know that they want the best for me and they want me to pursue my dreams, but knowing that in life we only have a finite amount of time with people we love and care about, and knowing that I've had to sacrifice that for something that's somewhat selfish is tough. Another thing that stands out is in 2005, Qatar offered me $750,000+ a year to go and swim for them, to take up citizenship. And there were several top athletes in the world that I spoke to that said, take the money and run. And I was like, no, I love South Africa. I love my country. They might come out and support me, and I'm not going to take it. Looking back, I made the right decision, but there's still a part of me that wonders how my life would have been different if I accepted a 6-year, 7-year contract for $750,000 a year, plus a whole lot of other things. So a couple of things I look back at.
Some rapid fire questions.
All right.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book lately, Essentialism.
Essentialism. What's it about?
Focusing on the things that are most important.
So like a minimalism type book.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. What's your go-to habit that you think everybody out there, sportsman or not, should implement in their daily routine?
I know you're going to love this. Ice baths.
You know I know it. I can't
No, I
do
know.
it.
That's why I said it.
Let me ask you a question on that quickly. If I had an ice bath where I jumped in and I had the temperature down like 1 degree every like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, would that work?
Might.
Okay. So maybe I can start, or maybe I just like start high and then every week I just drop a degree.
You don't have to start at 32 degrees. I mean,
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
32 degrees?
Yeah. So 3 minutes, I'll go 10 minutes in the sauna or a hot tub, and then 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes.
You go back and forth?
Yeah, and I'll do that 2 to 3 rounds. And I believe in that.
And what has it done for you?
Recovery. I think, like we spoke of earlier on, I think we're so focused in our mind. And if you're thinking about things in there, it's very tough. So what you do is, well, at least what I do when I get in is I focus on my breath, and I spend 3 minutes breathing, just that's it, connecting with my body. So I think it gives me an opportunity to get out of my mind at points, and I'm guilty of overthinking a lot of things.
I'm going to go buy an ice bath after this.
Hey, I know company.
What's the best bit of financial advice you've ever received?
Don't put all your money in Bitcoin.
At what price point is the question? What's a common misconception about business or life that you'd like to set the record straight on?
That there's always a lot of success. You're going to see more failure than you are going to see success.
Yeah, for everyone, even the successful people.
100%.
Okay, and if you can go back in time and meet one person throughout history, who would it be?
I want to go back and see my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you at all for that one. I do the same with my mom, actually. Just an extra day would make a huge difference. Okay, so Roland, thank you for being here. Let's talk about the Olympics coming up next year, 2024. I'd love to see people sponsor you from South Africa, from America, anywhere, because you're a shining example of what an athlete should be. And so, where can they find you if they're looking to sponsor you or get involved in some way to support you?
Yeah.
How would you? What's the best way to get hold of you?
Well, my goal is to have the largest cheering section in Paris next year.
Okay, you have one already.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are certainly invited.
Yeah.
But, I guess roland@northandco.com, or I'm on Instagram, Roland_Schoeman, Schoeman. I'm on X, I guess, just Roland Schoeman.
We'll put all that in the show notes below.
Yeah.
And, I'm excited for what you can do and the qualification process. And you're working really hard in this. Yeah, this is a culmination of your life's efforts and work.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm 100% in. I know that the time for this is finite. And people ask me, when are you going to retire? And I said, someday, but not today. And that day will come. But for as long as I can do that, you best believe that I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it 100%. And that's what's exciting.
Well, thank you so much for that. And thanks for being so inspiring to myself and so many other, South Africans and Americans and people around the world. What you do is incredible. And I wish you the best of luck for the Olympics next year.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think what other people don't know is at one of my darkest periods last year, we connected somehow. You just knew. And the world's an interesting thing that you sensed. And you reached out to me, and it was in the darkest time of my life, and it was considering, I don't think I would ever commit suicide, but I finally understood why people do. So then I came out here, and that sort of changed a lot of things, sort of changed the trajectory. So I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
It was an interesting divine moment, actually. I can say that you called me on the Friday about some issue you're having, and we had a quick conversation. I didn't think too much of it, but I think by the Sunday afternoon I kind of reflected back and realized that you were actually, that wasn't just a call to ask a question or get some help on the issue you had. It was something deeper.
Yeah.
And I said, come out here the next day, and we spent some time talking through the deeper part of it, right?
Yeah.
The emotional side of it. And yeah, like I said, it was a divine intervention on some levels. And I just sensed that something was wrong.
Yeah.
But I was glad to be there for you, and
still are.
I still am, and
Thank you.
I'm glad that you're there for everyone else, and can be a beacon of light for people who are going through something similar, and watching someone like you just rise above it.
We need a lot of that right now.
We do. The world's in a bit of a shambles right now.
Yeah.
But keep swimming.
I will.
Do what you
Thank
do.
you.
And I'll see you at the finish line.
That's it. See you in Paris.